Good morning, bonjour, Adichat, as we say in French language from here. I'm going to talk about historical stratotypes, global boundary stratotype section and points, GSSP, and natural reserves in France. I'm Yves Gilly, I'm Conservateur of 2 natural reserves, and the presentation was made with 2 colleagues, one from Luberon in southeast of France, and Marie Cascio, which is the geologist I work with. This is summit. We talk about geological heritage and protecting it. Why, for who, how? What French legislation say? We've got several laws, one about classified and enrolled sites, mostly for natural monuments and historical monuments sites. A very important for us law about nature protection, which permitted creation of national parks, national natural reserves, and other protected sites. Allow about enhancement of environment protection. Most recent law about neighborhood democracy. It's a funny name, but it permitted for region councils to create natural reserves. We've got 9 actually in the new Aquitaine region, and a text about National Geologic Heritage Inventory, which is not a protection, but it allows a site inventory. And after that, 5 years ago, the possibility of prefectural acts for geological sites protection. I'm going to present the natural reserve of France. We've got several ones, mostly 350 natural reserves. And we've got among them 129 which have got a geological value. Natural reserves with a geological value. The one with red were created for their geological heritage. The second part of my presentation is about unit stratotypes or historical stratotypes. You've got a drawing by Charles Mayer or Karl Mayer, the colleague talked about him recently. In France, we've got, we used to have got 40 of historical stratotypes, and some are still valid today. In the new Aquitaine region, we've got a GSSP in the Cretaceous and 6 stratotypes, and part of modern studies on the Campanian stage, put him in Dordogne today. Another map of the board of the international chronographic chart. We've seen the board of Charles Mayer today recently. These are the French the stratotypes in France, and I'm going to present you all of them. The more ancient one is the Givesian one. We've got the stratotype of Ittangian stage. Those two are on the northeast of France. Toarcian, 2 kilometers next from here. Barimian, in the natural reserve of Haute-Provence. Aptian, in the natural reserve of Luberon. And a stratotype in the Oligocene, which is not valid today, but it's still protected and studied in France, in a natural reserve next Paris, Réserve Naturelle des sites géologiques de l'Essonne. The natural reserve I'm in charge protects 2 stratotypes, the Aquitanian stratotypes, about 22 million years ago. We've got several sites, and we recently published a book about the Aquitanian stratotypes in a collection of Natural Museum of Paris. That's the site you could visit on Saturday. This second stratotype on this natural reserve is the Burdigalian one, 90 million years ago.
Messieurs qui écoutez à distance, fermez votre micro. Monsieur Salomon, s'il vous plaît.
Oh bon, je n'avais pas vu.
Merci.
I'm going to present what we are doing on this natural reserve. We have got an exhibition which presents a collection of fossil and rocks, and a little part of history of stratotypes. So you've got view of scientists like Meyer, of Duperrey, or I don't remember the name of the Italian one who defines Cerebalian. Our another missions on the natural reserve, we got a job of nature ranger with police missions. We've got missions of ecology, studying wetlands and butterflies and flowers protected on the area. We've got a big mission of education with a lot of people and children who come to visit the site, and missions of research. So in the team, we've got a geologist, Cascio, and one person who's in charge of the paleontological collections. So I hope we will meet on Saturday on the natural reserve. The third part of my exposé is about golden gneiss.
Please, those who are listening to the session, close the microphone because it's interrupting the presentation. Thank you so much for doing that. So find your mic and close it. Thank you.
Thank you. So my third part about global boundary stratotype section points, or golden gneiss, or spikes, or boundary stratotypes. It's the most recent use of stratigraphy to define the sites where we move from a stage to another one, and we've got 8 of them in the French territory. Just very recently, a paper of the French Geological Society. The paper is Géologique, and we've got a big work about the GSSP in France. So in the scale, we've got 3 classified and protected by natural reserve. Frasnian and Faminian limit golden nail, which was protected on an ancient natural reserves. It was about a law which can be applied today. We hope region could classify it in a few years, but actually today it is not longer protected. It was in the natural reserve, voluntary natural reserve of Coumiac, in the south of France. The Bajocian and Batonian limit global nail in the natural reserve of Haute-Provence. And the third one is the Campanian-Maastrichtian limit golden nail. So it's the GSSP is in a carry, which is now classified in a natural reserve in the department of Landes, not so far from here, of 200 kilometers. That's a recent reserve I'm in charge with too. And it's next the Adour River, and we've got late Cretaceous levels, and we've got the boundary Cretaceous Paleogene somewhere in the reserve, and research still continues. I'm going to talk about the mission we've got in the natural reserves globally, not only mine. Our Ministry of Environment asked us to write documents with our policy for the 10 next years. So each natural site has got to do this job of description, of finding the value of each part of the nature, geological, ecological, historical value of the site. And we wrote plan de gestion for our natural reserves. We've got 2 juridical work on the the protection of geological heritage. We've got a lawyer who works for the natural reserves web to actualize the laws for geological heritage. We are working about inventories of sites. So this is not protection. This is only knowledge and sharing knowledge on the website for people who want to have projects of urbanizations or else to know that some areas has got geological value mostly international ones. For an example, the prehistorical site of Logerie Haute you will visit tomorrow is classified in this inventory for its stratigraphical value and mammal evolution value too. We are working on research and collections conservation, writing a book and papers. We've got a particular way to show the nature and the geology by physical protection to protect the sites from erosion or collecting. So we've got what we call is a sites museum. We'll show. I will show some view of that. We are working on outdoor exhibition and museums, and to permit people to accept with more facility and to understand what is geological heritage. We work with the help of art, tourism, food, and wine on different places. And a big part of our job is education, to make visit from the children, adults, and scientists. And to share this knowledge, we are working on books and exhibitions. This is a book written by a colleague from Bretagne on French geological heritage around natural reserves. We've got a book and we've got an exhibition on this. And we've got a declination of this. We worked on a poster of geological heritage of the natural reserves in Nouvelle-Aquitaine, which is a brand new one. And to finish with France, the Natural History National Museum, which is in Paris, has worked on edition of a collection of books about stratotypes in France. We've got 9, and we worked on Aquitanian stratotype, which was edited in 40, and we are going to work on the Burdigalian stratotype. Just to finish about the international contribution, International Declaration of the Rights of the Memory of the Earth was proclaimed in Digne on the natural history of natural reserve of Haute-Provence at the end of last century, and some of the natural reserves are also classified of global geoparks. Thank you for your attention. If you've got some questions, I might need French help for translation. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So, are there questions from the colleague? No questions? Oh, Jim has one question.
Yes, I always have questions. My question is, especially for education, I wondered about the presentation of the history of these sites, how they were discovered, the people involved. Here in this disease, we've seen how the work of the early geologists has been presented as part of the story, whereas it seemed like maybe it was just because the talk was short, that there's no mention of any people who did the work that led to these sites in the context of when people see them.
The history for the site I worked, I'm in charge, will be detailed on the excursion on Saturday. I've seen with Mr. With Gaston we are talking about a recent history of nature protection. I'm not competent to go so far.
Thank you.
Any other question? Okay. Hello.
Thank you for your presentation. It was very well and very rich. I'm asking about geoparks. You have talked about some institutions that protect geological heritage. What about geoparks in France?
We've got several natural reserves who are also geoparks. But all the geoparks in France are not natural reserves. We've got one of the last one is wine Beaujolais region, which was classified for the economic and gastronomic interest. And geology too.
Thank you.
Any other question? So, thank you very much.